What's going on, you guys, and welcome to a review of a car that somehow I have never reviewed in the Canyons before. This is the 2015 Lexus RC F, and I'm shocked that this is my first time driving one not on a racetrack. I drove a RCF Track Edition at Road America last year. Wasn't super impressed with that car, especially for the $100,000 asking price. But get this 2015 RCF, which has the same engine, same 8-speed torque converter transmission, looks basically the same, can be picked up for $40,000 to $45,000 US. The owner Sid picked this one up last year for under $40,000, and it has no modifications. The only thing that's different from stock is some mismatched tires, unfortunately, but that's how he bought the car. This has Bridgestone RE050s up front and Michelin PS4S in the back. At least they're both a summer tire. So we're powered by a 5-liter naturally aspirated V8 engine, making 467 horsepower and 389 pound-feet of torque. Like I mentioned, 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission. These are known to require quite a bit of warm-up before they actually start performing well. This car has double wishbone front suspension, multi-link rear. Always love to see that in a luxury-focused car, but also in a performance-focused car because it's just a great setup for both comfort and driving dynamics. This car, unfortunately, weighs 4,000 pounds. That's the kicker. Even with this amazing V8 engine and the double wishbones and the rear wheel drive and the limited slip diff that comes standard, this thing's a chunky monkey. 2 tons. How is that going to affect the driving dynamics? We also have electric power steering. First impressions of the interior, for a 10-year-old car, it feels very, very nice. Definitely dated, but physical buttons and knobs for everything. We do have this Lexus touchpad system that controls this infotainment display, which is quite pixelated, low resolution. But the overall build quality of this interior is very nice. I really like this brushed metal look surrounding this Mark Levinson logo. Steering wheel is perforated leather. Very nice F logo at the bottom here. Heated and ventilated seats, that's awesome. I'm gonna keep these ventilated seats on for this drive. We'll put it into manual mode, and then we'll use this dial to throw it into Sport Plus. All right, 2-ton, naturally aspirated V8 powered rear wheel drive, 2+2 coupe. Is it worth your $40,000 to $45,000? Let's find out. Wow, that induction note. No intake or exhaust, a completely stock car, and yet it sounds that good, especially from inside the car, which is where I like engine sound to happen. Oh yeah, you feel the weight of this car right away. The brakes work surprisingly well at getting this car stopped, but in the corners, there's just no hiding the 2 tons. Double wishbones though, might be contributing to this really good front end feel. The transmission, not bad for a torque converter. It's not quite as good as the 10-speed auto in the LC500, but because this transmission is warmed up, it actually does perform reasonably well. Just not as well as something like a ZF 8-speed. A little bit jerkier with the shifts. Really trail brake this car nicely because the suspension is so soft. Driving this car hard is all about managing weight transfer. You do feel the car is a bit softly sprung. A lot of motions over bumps, especially mid-corner, first gear. I love that it has a hard rev limiter. It won't shift up unless you pull that paddle when you're in manual mode. The red line is just over 7,000. Looks to be maybe 7,300, 7,400. And this engine pulls so linearly to the top. Oh yes. Pretty well balanced car from a handling perspective. But I will say in Sport Plus, the throttle response is a little touchy. Oh wow. You feel the 2-ton mass through these higher speed corners. Steering doesn't have a ton of feedback being an EPS, but it does have pretty good load up. The weight increases nicely. though it has a great sound and it pulls hard at the top end, it doesn't have a ton of low-end torque. And even in the mid-range, well, you'd rather just be above, let's say, 4,500 RPM at all times when you're trying to get the best performance out of it. Really is the star of the show here. This engine has so much more character than a contemporary F80 generation M3. Even though that car is so much more accelerative, that engine doesn't have nearly this satisfying of a sound, especially from inside the car. To find a BMW that's priced similarly or below this RCF and makes as good of an engine sound, you really have to go back to the E9X generation of M3 with that 4-liter V8. This one doesn't rev as high as that S65 engine, but it does offer more mid-range torque. No signs of brake fade though, despite weighing so much, even in downhill canyon driving. I guess that's what the F badge has to provide. Look at that. Very well balanced car. Pretty decently quick downshifts. Just don't love that super touchy throttle response. Let's dial it back into Sport rather than Sport Plus. The gauges change. Of course, this has a digital cluster. One of the first Lexuses to offer that. Non-adaptive suspension, by the way. It's just a fixed spring and damper for the RCF. Still, the throttle response seems a little too touchy. Maybe I would have to dial it all the way back to normal mode. But overall, a very satisfying car to drive. And I think at $40,000 to $45,000, you're getting a lot of value because you get some elements of old school, like the naturally aspirated V8, but you get some creature comforts as well. A relatively smooth shifting 8-speed automatic, a very comfortable interior. Overall, it's just a well-balanced package. There's really not much to complain about here. It's quite traction limited in first gear with PS4S's on the back. But if you want a reliable Japanese, well-built, comfortable, daily drivable Hoonmobile for well under $50,000, this might be it. Even though an early model year like this 2015 will be well out of the warranty period, you probably don't have that much to worry about. It's a Lexus. It's built to last forever. So in many regards, this is a great value proposition. If you want a sort of do-everything type of car that won't beat you up on a daily basis, but you can still have some good old-fashioned V8 fun with, I'm not sure there's a better car than this. You can argue that an E9X generation M3 offers better driving dynamics, and actually I would make that argument. Or the first generation Lexus ISF also drives better than this on a canyon road. But at the end of the day, if you want this type of body style, 2+2 coupe, with a much more modern looking interior and creature comforts compared to that old ISF, and with much more reliability than a BMW, the RCF still does hold a pretty special place in this sub $50,000 market. So big shout out to the owner, Sid. Let me know what cars you think under $50,000 new or used would offer a better proposition as an all-in-one package than this RCF. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.